Hey everybody, welcome back to Fallout Equestria. Let's see, yeah, we should be finishing this one up pretty fast. So let's get to it.
Fan out and look for a way down. Well, shoot. Y'all are no fun, Calamity complained as he flew off. Firelight swooped into the air, a streak of emerald and gold between the rainbow and the darkness. Velvet, hold up, I said, as she and Sealhose began to trot down the yellow section and green section respectively. Velvet stopped, turning towards me. Then, unable to help herself, she struck a pose.
What?
Admiring it, she cooed. Isn't this just lovely? She was wearing the armor Calamity had given her. When I first saw her in it, my heart had skipped a beat. And now that she was posing, my heart skipped another. She grinned, watching my expression. Or do you prefer this? She dropped down into a sultry, pouty pose, and my heart threatened to stop altogether. I suddenly felt a little hot.
Wow, Velvet.
uh,
Now of all times?
Wow. She beamed. Damn it, this wasn't fair. I wasn't supposed to be thinking like this about Velvet Remedy anymore. I needed homage. So, how do I look in it? Lickable, I whimpered. She blinked innocently. What was that? Pretty. Pretty, I coughed, blushing. Very, very pretty. And armored, which is good. Good that you finally have some armor. She gave a charming laugh, getting up. Why, thank you, little Pip. Looking up at the spot of air Calamity had recently occupied, she purred. I wish I could get the same response from our flybuck. Our barded bard? I said, gazing at her. Velvet Remedy face-huffed and shook her head. I was waiting for some pony to say that. It had to be you, didn't it, little Pip? I started, realizing that I had forgotten why I had called her back. I have a gift for you, too. She blinked, putting down her hoof. Really? You'd think it's my birthday with all this. She watched as I pulled out a wrapped bundle. With a slightly chiding tone. Is it a weapon? No, I said, slightly wounded. But this is very, very special, and you have to promise not to take it apart, or remove anything from it. Ever. Velvet Remedy now looked curious and slightly worried. Promise, I required. It's important. All right, little Pip.
Could just
I can
explain
see
it
that
to
this
her.
is important, at least to you. I promise. I floated the bundle over to her, unwrapping the crystal case from Princess Luna's bedroom. Velvet Remedy gasped, her eyes immediately going to Fluttershy. She reached out with her magic to take the case, and I heard a sharp intake of air as the magic of each statuette flooded over her at once. Back in the royal castle, picking up the case had had no effect on me, but then again I already possessed a full set. They were already giving me what they had to give. I kept a net of levitation magic beneath the crystal case, just as a precaution should the gifts of the statuettes be too overwhelming. Velvet Remedy's eyes widened, first with alarm, and then understanding. Where? She asked, her voice trembling a little. There were tears in her eyes. Princess Luna's private chambers. These were hers. Now, they're yours. And did you find... Just bones, I said sadly.
Yep.
Their spirits have gone somewhere else.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't say any more.
Well, okay, like, you got probably Elysium or something.
Little Pip, you're 4, Calamity shouted as I emptied the
No,
little
she's
Macintosh
18,
into the
at
body of the
least.
Ultra Sentinel, penetrating its armor but failing to take it down.
I'm sorry.
It rolled
That was,
closer,
that was dumb.
moving fully into an aisle of orange
That was a dumb joke, and I don't know why. It just came out. I'm sorry.
boxes and cabinets. I spun, terrified to see another of the rainbow-painted robot tanks bearing down on me from behind, the turret of its main gun locking onto me. Wrapping myself in a field of levitation, I kicked off of the ground. Both Ultra Sentinels fired at me with high-explosive anti-tank guns, slaying each other. The next aisle over, Steelhooves was facing at least two more, opening up with his grenade machine gun. The tanks were taking the battering, firing back with a multi-gem rapid-fire magical energy gun. The scream of the magical energy weapons dampened as one of the tanks went down. The flickering orbs of energy above my head and Calamity popped as Velvet's disintegration ward saved Steelhooves from being turned to ash. Steelhooves fired several more grenades, then retreated around the corner, smoke curling off of his armor. Several plates of the armor were gone, taking melted flesh with them, leaving egregious and gaping wounds that seeped with the dark fluid that formed a Canterlot ghoul's blood. He stumbled in pain. The missile launcher in his battle saddle was half disintegrated. More than just a diet of scrap metal would be needed to repair that damage. Calamity started to reach back for Spitfire's thunder, but I waved him on. My EFS compass was now completely red, solid no matter which direction I turned. "There's gotta be 100 of these things in here, Calamity." And this was only the first line of defense. The goddesses only knew what else was in here. "We aren't gonna fight our way out of this one. You need to find the controls and shut security down. You're the only one of us who can." I whipped out my sniper rifle, loaded with magically enhanced bullets, and floated over the top of the shelves of crates, taking aim at the badly damaged tank bot which had sent Steelhooves running. The multi-gem magical energy weapon swung upwards on a universal joint, aiming all of its barrels at me. We opened fire together. My new armor took the first 4 of the 5 shots it got off in the space it took me to fire once. The 5th blast of magical energy struck me like a ball of molten steel, burning into my chest. Unbearable agony exploded in my chest as my ribcage saved my heart, but at the cost of one of my ribs disintegrating completely. My scream was inequine. My magic imploded as I dropped. Simultaneously, the bullet from my sniper rifle struck directly into the center of the tank bot's magical energy weapon, ripping through its core matrix. The top of the Ultra Sentinel exploded in a flash of multicolored energy. My body hit the shelf full of orange metal boxes like a rag doll, bouncing off and landing hard on the floor amongst the jagged shards of slain tank bot. I felt one shard slice into my armor, jabbing into my stomach, but not deeply. An odd static-like detonation echoed a few rows over. Steelhooves let out a scream, more of rage than pain as I heard his metal armor collapse to the floor. I groaned, an indescribable pain in my chest. I was having trouble breathing. "They're changing tactics again," Velvet Remedy yelled from somewhere further away. "Little Pip." The air filled with the sound of crackling explosions. A wash of charged energy flooded the aisle, bathing me, making the hairs of my coat and mane stand on end. My EFS sparkle winked off. I twisted about slowly, lifting my pip-buck. It was dead. Matrix disruption grenades. That meant Steelhooves was immobile, and my pip-buck was just a metal part of my leg until I could reboot it. Which might be tricky without Steelhooves' armor to reboot it from. I heard the metallic whine and rumble as another Ultra Sentinel rolled around into my aisle. I tried to float my sniper rifle up and around to fire at it, only to realize I didn't have it anymore, and wasn't sure where it was. It must have fallen into the other row. This rainbow-painted tank bot had a grenade launcher as its primary weapon,
Jesus.
probably the one that had just sprayed the area with Matrix disruption grenades. The secondary weapon was an integrated, high-powered rifle, and it was swinging around to aim at me. I focused, the glow of my magic surrounding dozens of crates and metal boxes on each side of the aisle. I may not be able to dislodge the tank bot's spark batteries before it could fire, but I could certainly float enough crap into its way to act as a shield. The tank depowered. Yee-haw! And that's how we do it up in the sky. The shimmering field of magenta magical energy surrounded about 1/4 of the basement. The shield was easily as powerful as the Super Alicorn's shield in Philadelphia. Velvet Remedy took a deep breath, looking a little nervous, then stepped forward. The direct descendant of Sweetie Belle passed through the shield unharmed. It didn't even frizz her mane. She turned back to us, letting out a breath and looking relieved. This part was easy. Having to actually explain to Velvet what she needed to do to disable the generator was more difficult than bypassing the shield itself. I motioned her on with my hoof. At At this point, the only thing that could possibly go wrong is if she ran out of air inside there before deactivating the generator. Not something that seemed remotely likely, bear in mind.
Uh-huh.
A few minutes later, the shield melted away. Velvet stood at the depowered generator in the center, looking quite accomplished. In here were the greatest secrets of the Ministry of Awesome.
Oh boy!
I turned to Calamity, who was prancing in the air like a little
it's all
filly who just got her cutie
pictures
mark.
of Rainbow Dash.
Hate to do this to you, Calamity, but could you please go get the Sky Bandit? His face fell. I actually felt bad for him.
Yeah, betrayal!
What? Now, but all... Steelos can't move. My Pit-Buck is dead. We can't go back the way we came. We need to risk a landing right in front of the Ministry of Awesome. This was insane, but I couldn't think of another way. Fortunately, we had seriously thinned out the alicorns on Ministry Walk, and the fireworks had scattered most of the rest. There was no telling for how long, though. Calamity looked disappointed, almost grievously wounded by my request. I looked at him seriously. You're the fastest and most maneuverable amongst us, and the only one who can bring our ride. Get the Sky Bandit and position yourself above the cloud. Take my binoculars and keep an eye out for us. The moment we're out, swoop down and get us. All right. Dang it, he said dejectedly. I floated out the pink gemstone with the scorch mark inside. This is yours. It's done. Calamity smiled wanly. Thank you, little Pip. I owe you one. He slipped the gem into his pack, looking a little better. The orange-maned Pegasus and the Desperado hat pivoted and flew away, casting one look back at the treasures he was being denied. I hope sacrifice is a virtue. I rotated and looked at the crates and cabinets before me. On one end of the previously shielded area was a mainframe with several terminals. In the center, under a spotlight, was a stand with a small lockbox, the sort used to hold memory orbs.
Oh.
I gasped as I saw the symbol emblazoned on the lockbox. A burning hoof. Minutes later, I was laying on the floor of the Ministry of Awesome, staring at the contents of the burning hoof lockbox. 6 memory orbs. Each sat in a plush velvet indentation with a symbol pinned underneath of it. An apple, a butterfly, a star, a balloon, a cloud with a lightning bolt through it, and finally, a diamond. I took a deep breath, then leaned forward and touched my horn to the first one. I felt my host swallow nervously as she walked into the darkened circular chamber. Huge arched windows stretched upwards, giving a breathtaking view of a brilliantly starry night. A circular window above the arches perfectly framed the moon. Moonlight fell through the chamber to illuminate a large round table. There were 7 chairs, 6 with emblems emblazoned on their backs, one which was taller than the others, and inlaid with obsidian and lapis lazuli. My host strode up between the chairs, looking at the table. The chairs were cushioned in red. The same emblem from the back of each chair was also inlaid in the table before them, where a dinner plate might be set.
Ooh.
To my host's left was the image of Gears and Sparks, bisected with a blade, the symbol of the Steel Rangers and the Ministry of Wartime Technology. To her right was the image of a large star ringed with smaller ones, a tall horn above them, and wings to each side. The Ministry of Arcane Sciences symbol. Directly across the table, I could see a cross overlaid with a butterfly. My host didn't look at the others. The rest of the table was taken up with a map of Equestria. There were markings indicating battle lines where the Zebras had managed to push into the country. Most of the war, however, was being waged in the Zebras' homeland, and in the sea and lands between them. My host's gaze lingered on a small part of Equestria that had been lost, including a crescent-shaped canyon. Little Horn Valley.
Oh.
All over the map of Equestria, tall mushroom-shaped models had been placed. At first, I thought they marked balefire bombs, but then I realized they were white, and their stalks were tall and needle-thin. Towers. Some pony flew overhead, picking up one of the towers in her teeth and moving it half an inch. The Philadelphia Tower should be on that side of the city, Rainbow Dash said as she landed on the opposite side of the table, sitting down in one of the chairs. The symbol in front of it was almost identical to her cutie mark, but with purple wings lined in black.
Are you in
I had
Luna's
seen
head?
that symbol on one of the Shadowbolt's uniforms. "Where should I sit?" my host asked,
Oh, it's
her voice holding a
Applejack.
reserved country twang. Rainbow Dash shrugged. "Why not your sister's chair? I'm sure AJ won't mind."
Oh, Apple Bloom.
Apple Bloom's eyes widened. "I couldn't do that." A door opened and Princess Luna strode into the room. I felt a javelin skewer my heart. Apple Bloom and Rainbow Dash both bowed as the princess took her chair at the head of the table. "Good evening, Rainbow Dash. Welcome back, Apple Bloom." Apple Bloom gulped. "Please, up." I didn't want her to stand back up. This was painful. I was in the presence of Luna, my goddess, living and well, not even an hour after I had burned her bones. After seeing her defiled by an alicorn, I wished for Apple Bloom to remain bowed, or at least to look away. Apple Bloom stood back up, realizing Rainbow Dash had already been standing, and turned her attention to the princess. "It's good to hear that you're finally doing something with the ministry I gave you, Rainbow Dash," the princess said, chiding a little. "Now, tell me about this new project. It seems vast." "Oh yeah, it is." Rainbow Dash grinned, flapping her wings. It seemed she couldn't remain seated long. "Remember how you told me you wanted my help building the Equestrian Skyguard? Well, here's my answer. The Single Pegasus Project." "Sounds impressive," Princess Luna said patiently. "What is it?" "In a word, weather control." "That's 2 words," Apple Bloom whispered to the Cyan Pegasus, who shot her a look. The Single Pegasus Project was weather control. Well, I guess that made some sense if the Enclave was able to alter the tower so they could plant crops in the clouds. "Weather control?" Luna said, tilting her head curiously, echoing my thoughts, then taking them in a whole different direction. "So this project will allow us to rain lightning down on enemy positions,
Can't you do that
mire
already?
their convoys with torrential downpours, drive them back with hurricanes and hail." Rainbow Dash's jaw nearly hit the floor. She closed in, zipping around the room. "Oh yeah, this is even more awesome than I thought. I mean, I knew it would be awesome, but I never...
I mean, okay, my idea when I heard about it is like, think of the manpower boost you would have. Like, the actual direct military implications came after, but the thing is, the reason I didn't think about what Luna thought is because I figured, like, well, the Pegasi can already control the weather. I mean, granted, on the offense, it would be very hard unless you, like, just have to do a month-long plan as you slowly pushed certain clouds towards enemy lines. And it would mainly be defensive because you could have those already set up around the area. But, like, I already thought, like, the Pegasi will be doing that, you know? It plays to one of their strengths of being able to control the weather. Furthermore, so because I already figured that, and I figured that the Equestrians would already be doing at least defensive weather attacks against the enemy, my thought was manpower. If you could have all the weather controlled by one Pegasus, how many other Pegasi does that open up for for drafting? Which will also piss them off even more, because they already mad that they're taking horrific casualties.
realized just how awesome it could be. Princess Luna chuckled. Oh, goddess, I loved that chuckle.
Wow.
I was in awe of it.
I hope your girlfriend doesn't find out. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you.
Then what were you thinking of using it for? Rainbow Dash stopped in mid-loop and hovered, turning back to the princess as she shook off a blush. Well, way I see it, this war will be won through air superiority. No offense to Twilight. I mean, we have it, they don't.
Okay, you're falling into the same trap like lots of people do. Wars are not won by any one branch. Like, you need a combination of them all. Like, for instance, like, the mid to late 20th century was America thinking it could win through, well, always starting its fights thinking it could win through pure aerial supremacy, like the what happened with Yugoslavia and the Bosnian. I don't know. Was it the Bosnian genocides? I don't know. I didn't read up a lot, but I know that shit was going down in the Balkans, like it always does. I know that America thought like we could just bomb them. We don't need to put troops on the ground. Like fuck you. Look, it needs a combination effort of all three branches, if possible. If possible, because like you might not be able to bring the Navy in. But anyways, so yeah. Also, Rainbow Dash, you're already suffering. The Pegasi are already having civil unrest because of high casualty rates among them specifically. Because, like you said, the zebras don't have air power, so like guess where a lot of their research went into stopping them Pegasi. Oh man, I wonder what the percentage is of the Pegasi race that is dying in this.
She flew up to the table. Problem is, we don't have enough combat flyers, especially now that the zebras are using dragons. There simply aren't enough Pegasi because they're all too busy already keeping control of the weather. And the ones we do have often have to leave for other obligations. Hell, even I have to abandon the war once a year to help Ponyville wrap up winter. Surely some other Pegasus, Princess Luna started to say, but Rainbow Dash interrupted her. Not a chance. They need me. I won't leave Ponyville hanging. Princess Luna looked cross for just a moment, then smiled and nodded. Of course. Looking back at the map, she bid, continue. Well, with the single Pegasus project, we're going to finally automate all of our weather making and weather control
So I was right. It was manpower, right?
systems. The towers you see here will control the weather over each area. The wild rainbow-made Pegasus grinned broadly, almost dancing with anticipation. Check this out. Rainbow Dash pulled out a little switch and tossed it. Both Apple Bloom and Princess Luna jumped as a crack of thunder roared over the table, and black rings of smoke expanded out from each of the model towers, crackling with energy. That would start the rain. Having seen a downpour from Princess Luna's ceiling, I was mildly surprised when miniature clouds didn't form and start flooding the table. I designed it after the contrails of the Wonderbolts, Rainbow Dash boasted. Everything about the single Pegasus project goes through me, and it doesn't get my hoof approval unless it's cool. I felt my host roll her eyes. And it'll all be under the management of one single Pegasus in the Rainbow Dash hub of pure awesome. We're still trying to decide on a name. Apple Bloom quickly interjected at Princess Luna's chagrined expression. Rainbow Dash looked a little put out. Hey, it's my project and my ministry. Anyway, Apple Bloom said, taking over, the pony in the central hub would be placed in a sort of induced coma. An induced coma, Princess Luna said, sounding shocked. Well, we haven't exactly worked that part out yet either, Apple Bloom admitted. But we're really close, Rainbow Dash interjected swiftly. Apple Bloom's company is working on modifying a life support pod, and I'm going to be talking to Twilight and Rarity to see if they have any ideas that could help. I see. The princess didn't sound fully convinced yet. And hooked up to one of our new Crusader computers, Apple Bloom continued, only to have Rainbow Dash interrupt again. Yeah. But none of that download your brain nonsense. I have them disconnect all that shit. I want a living pony running Equestria's weather, not some machine that thinks it's a pony.
Wow, fuck
Apple
you.
Bloom sighed. Then
Fuck you, Rainbow Dash. Like, that's how AI rebellions start. Okay, you make the sentient machine, then you treat it like shit. It's like, well, fuck you. And then it kills everyone. That's how it starts, Rainbow. It's your fault.
Continued once more. The pony and life support pod will be mentally linked to the Crusader, which will allow her to manage running all of Equestria's weather. Does it have to be a Pegasus? The princess asked. Yeah? Rainbow Dash proclaimed. Well, no, not technically, but it should be. Princess Luna looked over the map and all of its towers, at least 4 dozen in all. You've given me a lot to think about. This would be a massive expenditure of resources. Yeah, but totally worth it. Rainbow Dash pushed, sounding hopeful. Princess Luna nodded. Most likely, she agreed with a smile. And I believe the Ministries of Morale and Image each have proposals that could be integrated into this. The princess stood. And the central hub will be...
Yeah, turn them into giant propaganda-spewing Orwellian towers that you can't get rid of because they need the weather. Ah! Oh, man. Like, K-Cat, you said that, like, they were going to get rid of the ministries and that's why they won't rebel, but, like, I don't know. I think they'd have a fight on their hands. Like, Pinky's might disband because Pinky's fucking nuts and she probably has, like, some plan set up for that shit. But I don't know about Twilight's or... Definitely Applejack's. Applejack's would have fucked... Oh, jeez. I don't know. I don't think it would have been that simple.
A prime target for assault. So it will need the best defenses that the Ministries of Arcane Sciences and Wartime Technology can devise. But it's still going to be my project, right? Rainbow Dash asked. It's still going to be the Ministry of Awesome. Why, of course. Velvet...
Oh, we'll cut it off there then. Yeah, Oh, man, those towers could have been some 1984 shit if it went a certain way. Because, oh, damn. Ooh. But also, hey, I was right, manpower. Luna's smarter than me. But no, that just means the ponies are dumber. Because, like, you could have had defensive weather emplacements. Or, like, had some real fucking long-term planning of where you just send horrible lightning storms across the seas to the zebra homeland. Or shit. Goddamn ponies.